Well, we'll all be glued to our TV screens tonight to hear what President Cyril Ramaphosa has to say. He'll deliver his second State of the Nation address in about 4 months. And our senior reporter Annika Larson is outside Parliament. As Annika, I'm sure those preparations are now well and truly underway. The President making a number of promises since taking office. I mean, in his February Sona, the big question was around the ailing economy, SOEs, the creation of jobs. Tonight, we want to hear some results, don't we?
I think results and a long-term plan, and I do think that the President is a man who strategizes and makes that long-term sort of strategies, and short-term fixes are not necessarily going to work. But I think in February, before the elections, he had no choice but to announce on those short-term fixes, which some of them which did not work. He certainly appointed a new head of the National Director of Public Prosecutions. The Zondo Commission got off, but some of the interventions into Eskom and other SOEs have failed. And so there needs to be a plan B in order to assure South Africans that especially the power utility is on its way forward to being fixed, and also, of course, that SAA has a plan going forward, because as the Finance Minister has said time and time again, he does not like the word bailout. There also needs to be firm policy direction in terms of what was said at Nasrec and what has been said by investors who want clear guidelines on what's going to happen with monetary policy and the Reserve Bank. But getting back to preparations here ahead of the State of the Nation address, I have the Acting Secretary to Parliament, Baby Chawa. Baby, sorry, we're so used to calling you Baby, but I should really call you Mrs. Chawa. This has, I mean, taken, I think, years of preparation, really. As soon as the one Sona ends, you start working in the next one. You've had two to deal with in 4 months. How's the planning going so far?
It's been going well. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's been going well. And I must say that I attribute the success to the team that does this. We keep a strong team of officials who make sure that once the date is announced, we start activating our substreams of activists who actually make sure that things work well. We also work with various stakeholders because this is an event of the state. So the judiciary comes on board, the executive comes on board, and we use operatives to actually do that. Our work is to make sure that we get invitations out on time, make sure that we rotate those invitations, make sure that we cover a lot of institutions, ranging from your traditional leaders, religious groups, young people, NGOs, CBOs. Obviously, it's given that our members also bring in guests.
I see you will still have white shirts. I've seen a few of them. We call them the white shirts, but they're the parliamentary bodyguards, if you like. Are you expecting any disruptions, or do you think the tone for the behavior or the protocol in the House has changed somewhat?
I first want to put it in context. These are officials. Their work is we refer to them as Parliament Protection Services. I hear what you say. Definitely not bodyguards. And they do more other things. They actually accompany committees to oversight when there isn't any State of Nation address. Indeed, they assist the Sergeant-in-Arms to really maintain order in the House because they are officials of Parliament. And they're actually being trained not to harm members, but to ensure that members, when requested to leave the chamber, do so in a formal way and in a procedural way, guided by the executive authority, that's the chair and the speaker. Remember that our policy is that the chair and the speaker are actually responsible for the safety and security of the precinct, as well as making sure that everybody inside the chamber is actually protected whilst in a free space that is offered by Parliament.
Your concerns about the tone in the House and possible disruptions?
There's been quite a lot of calm if one looks at the fact that a lot of members come here to engage, and they actually do listen to the content of the speech. So I think, as both the chair and the speaker have indicated, what they're going to do is to implement the rules of the houses. It's a joint sitting, get guidance from the secretaries who manage the procedural processes inside the assembly, and make sure that everybody gets a chance to listen and hear what the president has got to say. It's an important event for us as Parliament because it also outlines how members have to take to exercise oversight over the executive. So that's quite important. And we've realized that the tone, it's been quite calm, even from the side of Labour in terms of our officials. It's been quite the best time of calmness in Parliament, and we hope it will be sustained, notwithstanding differences and opinions that don't augur well with other people. And we anticipate that there cannot be a fallout when people don't agree. There isn't necessarily a need for a fallout. However, if it happens, we as officials are instructed by both the Speaker and the Chair to action whatever we can, but make sure that everybody is protected. But over and above that, we do work with the South African Police Services, who assist when there is a threat or there is damage to property or there is just lawlessness. They kick in because they operate under the Act that allows them to do that, a space that's not our purview.
What do you ascribe the different tone, the sense of calm, which you say is present and hasn't been for quite some time, to?
I guess it's elements of a maturing democracy. And as a leader, as a political appointed person holding public office, it's expected that you behave in a particular manner because we represent communities. Therefore, you need to behave in a manner that gives confidence that you understand your constitutional mandate as a member of Parliament, irrespective of the fact that Parliament provides you the space for free speech. When that is done, it's done within rules, and that's the reason why Parliament has got rules. And those rules, I must tell you, Anika, are developed by the very members. So it's not rules that come from outside. So they develop the rules, they adopt them, and they acknowledge that they have to follow the rules. But that doesn't mean there will not be a fallout, but it shouldn't be violent.
Last question. As an administrator and being really in charge of hosting this event, what keeps you up at night as your biggest fear that could go wrong? Is it something fairly mundane?
Sometimes, we never think about it. When there are three arms of state on one precinct, the biggest thing is, please let there not be something falling like or maybe food poisoning. Let's make sure that the red carpets are straightened properly, nobody trips over it. And I can't think of any other thing, but nothing much has happened that has gotten the skies to fall. Like now, we have made an arrangement. If there was going to be rain, we organized and worked with Public Works to make sure that there's a shelter. And that, being June in Cape Town, we need the rain, but we definitely have to worry if it's going to rain out to the event.
Just talking about food poisoning, do you prepare different sets of food so that not everybody eats the same food? I know that in some big functions, when there are several heads of state, that actually gets done so that not everybody gets down with food poisoning or salmonella at the same time.
Now, what's very good is that because we've reduced the amount of food that we're producing, it's largely snacks, and we do have health inspectors in all of our kitchens, our dining halls. We also have chefs that are trained, and we agree on the menu with them, and we really prepare very different snacks for different audiences. For instance, the Diplomatic Corps, there are about 218 of them with their partners. When they come in here, they're in a different dining hall. And some guests of our executive authority are in another space. So we have health inspectors, we've got trained chefs, and we've got ordinary managers who make sure that our dining halls are clean.
All these things that you have to think about. All right, thank you so much, Baby Chawa, the acting secretary to Parliament, chatting to us there about all their major concerns. Can you imagine if you had all your ministers, your president, your diplomatic corps, all your MPs and journalists all in hospital with salmonella the day after the State of the Nation address. That would be a disaster, wouldn't it? Or somebody slipping on the red carpet, or all those sort of things. And as you know, the weather tomorrow is going to be really stormy and inclement. And so the presidential golf challenge that is always held the day after the State of the Nation address has been postponed until February.
All right.